Photosyntech. This is Meet the Grower. And today guys, I'm a little emotional. I have CaliGreen, the grower here, one of my most favorite YouTube guys. Definitely credit him for being one of the reasons why I do what I do. And, just the organic growing, the YouTube stuff. Cali, brother, appreciate you huge, man. Welcome to the show.
What's up? What's up? Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate you letting me on your show here.
Yeah, well, I had to poke you a little bit, and finally, you agreed to come on. So I definitely appreciate that, man. And just a couple things before we get started. Shout out to Mars Hydro, big sponsor of the channel. And if you guys like what I'm doing, Patreon down below. You can help me out on a monthly basis. But we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about you, CaliGreen. Dude, how you been, man? How are things?
Good. Just doing my thing.
Yeah, for sure. Put up a great video today. I watched earlier there. What's the word I'm looking for? Little test on some seeds and stuff, mycorrhiza versus seaweed and that sort of thing. So if you guys haven't seen that, go and check out that video because he's asking for us, the community, to help him out, do some additional testing. But let's talk a little bit about you first, sir. Maybe give me some of your background, who you are, how you got to where you are now.
Dude, I'm just a regular guy that grows in his spare bedroom. I started back in 2012. I started uploading videos back in 2012, and it's just grown to what it is. But it's nothing special here. It's just a dude in his tent. That's who I am.
Yeah, and providing education for the masses too, man. That's one of the best things. But how did you get into growing? And what was sort of the catalyst that made you decide to start?
So I've been smoking herb for a long time. I since probably junior high school. I don't even think they call it junior high anymore. Actually, I don't know what they call it now. But yeah, for a long time. And I think anybody that smokes long enough eventually gets curious about growing. And,
Totally.
Back in the day, I'm an older dude. I'm not. I've been smoking since it was illegal. And back in the day, it was easy to find seeds. You find them all the time. So you throw a seed here and there. I think the first time that I ever attempted to grow, I was probably like 15 years old, 15, 16 years old. Didn't work out, but that's probably the start of everything right there. I didn't really take it serious until about 2012 when I started the channel. But I can't really tell you. I can't tell you why I did it. Well, I can't tell you why I started the channel. That's just something I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I can't tell you, honestly. I don't know why I did it.
I hear you, man. I think like most growers, you've got a connection with the plant, and you feel the need to get the bean into the dirt and do its thing and foster it along. I mean, that's definitely how I think a lot of us look at that.
Well, I think it's a hobby, right? And once you grow your first plant, it's almost like you're addicted to growing.
Totally.
I need it. I need to do it. It's what I do. I'm pretty good at it. I'm okay at it, I guess. And it makes me feel good. It's soothing, right? It's I guess just the action of doing it itself is calming, and it's just what I do.
I hear you, man. The garden is my happy place, right? I mean, I find excuses all day long to just sort of pop by, look at the plants, take it in, see how they're doing, talk to them a little bit. So let's talk about your grow space now and how it's evolved over time.
Yeah. So I started with a 2x4. Yeah. Back in the day, there weren't many LED companies out there. I think Mars was one of the only companies that was actually branded at that time. And they had these little 300-watt LEDs that you can still get. They're like the little purple lights. Mm-hmm. But they weren't very popular. So I started with a high-pressure sodium. Do you remember the cool tubes?
Do you remember? Before when I started growing there, but I'm sure some of the viewers do.
So high-pressure sodium, right? They're high-intensity discharge lights. And they get really hot. So they created like these kind of reflectors that are in a glass tube where you can force air through them to cool down the bulbs because they get so hot.
Right.
So yeah, that's how I started. It was super, super hot. I mean, it was a 400 watt in that 2x4, and temperatures were ridiculous, man. I mean, 90 degrees in there. I was just having a really hard time when I first started. But yeah, 2x4. From there, I got it to LEDs. That helped out a lot with the heat. And I've grown in 4x8 spaces, and I'm back to pretty much any kind of tent, any size tent you can think of. I've grown in, but I really like the 4x4 configuration. It's a nice size. You can get good yield. You can get some nice lights in there, big lights, So
Yeah.
that's really the size tent that I'm comfortable, or the space that I'm comfortable with right now.
Now, in regards to growing itself, do you like to go routine, sort of do the same thing every time? I mean, this is kind of a leading question, but what do you like to do to change it up? How do you like to experiment from grow to grow?
Well, I'm always curious about different things. I know there's rules, so-called rules that you should follow when you're growing, and there's a lot of people that like to tell you that there's certain ways you should do things and certain ways you shouldn't do things. I mean, I listen to all that, but it's you gotta test it. You gotta test it out. You gotta experiment for yourself. So, for the most part, I mean, I've been growing long enough to where I know the structure of the plant. I know how it's going to grow. I know the stages.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised by anything. Because I'm making videos, I try not to experiment too much. Although I do sometimes, and I regret it sometimes. But yeah, for the most part, I try not to experiment too much while I'm filming. But during the the time that I'm not filming, like now, I get a chance to actually experiment a little bit, and that's what that video was about. The one you just mentioned a little bit earlier when we first started the podcast here. It was just kind of a little experiment about mycorrhiza on seeds, because I've been doing that forever, and I think there's a lot of people that think or say that it's not worth it, or there's no point to putting mycorrhiza on seeds. So thought I'd test it out.
Yeah, and help disprove some of that bro science out there. And I guess going on that topic, then, what do you feel some of the worst bro sciences that people are perpetrating out there?
I really don't know. I don't really pay attention to other growers too much. Like, I don't watch other growers' videos, honestly. There's not a lot of people that grow like me.
Yeah.
I'm probably one of the only, maybe not the only. I know there's a guy named Herban Farmer. He's not even on YouTube anymore. That guy's badass. He does living organics. He does no-till living organics. He did. I watched his stuff a few times, but yeah, I don't really pay attention to what people are doing. I know every once in a while I'll get stuff in the comments, and it's stuff that I probably heard from way back in the day that doesn't make any sense to me, and I'll experiment with that. But just to touch on that a little bit, actually, so I've been doing this since 2012, and back in the day, back in 2012 when I first started, there wasn't that many YouTubers on there on YouTube. There's a few, mostly growing with nutrients though, just kind of like everyone is doing now. But what is his name? I don't want to mess up his name because this guy's a legend. I'm just really bad with names. What's his name, dude? The guy that did the super soil mix.
Minnesota Nice?
No,
cool.
Man. Yeah, Mr. Cool.
Yeah, Sub Cool.
Dang it. Sub Cool.
Yeah.
Dude. Bro. Oh man, I hate when I do that. Yeah, Sub Cool. That dude's OG, man. That guy is OG. And this guy was the first guy that I saw do a super soil mix. And this was way back in 2012. He was probably doing it way before that. I mean, it must be something from Northern California or something, or I don't know, whatever. Point is that I saw what he was doing back then, and he was mixing large batches, like single ingredients, like he would use. I don't think he was using down to earth, but he was using single ingredient amendments. And I thought it was great, man, because he was saying, you just use water, you mix your soil up, and he was way ahead of everyone else. And I thought to myself, like, look, if this guy is doing single ingredients, and then there's actual fertilizer mixes out on the market at that time, like I think it was Rose and Flower, which had all the ingredients that he was mentioning in his soil mixes. I said, hey, you know what? Why can't I just use this soil, this amendment here that has everything he mentioned right in the mix, and make my own mix, and why do I have to cook it? Because he cooks it, right? And there's a lot of people that believe in cooking the soil. And that's one of the first experiments that I did. And, and when I first started doing that, there was a lot of backlash against that. Like, why are you doing that? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't work. And I think I was one of the first people on YouTube to actually make a simple soil mix like that. I think there's plenty more that are way better now, but yeah, that's one of the things that I like to experiment with. And sometimes you got to test things out. You got to test them for yourself. You can't grow personally if you're not growing.
Yeah, well, pushing your limits, man. Seeing what's new, what you can change, what works, what doesn't work. And I guess to that point, then you have a time you could tell us about where an experimentation went off the rails and things didn't go so well.
I don't know. I mean, I can't. I mean, when I first started growing, I guess it's one of those things. I mean, once you know how the plant grows, the stages of the plant's life, you're not going to make mistakes that are going to kill your plant.
True.
You might make mistakes, that'll stress her just a little tiny bit, but you can't really think of it. Yeah, well, you know what? I'll go way back. When I first started growing, I started in cocoa, and I used hydroponic nutrients because it was a drip to waste system.
Okay.
And I got the cocoa brick, right? And this is back in the day, so the stuff was dirty. So what I did is I hydrated it up, and I just put it in pots, and I put my clone in there, and I just went about my day and my business, and eventually the plant had some really bad nutrient burn and salt burn because it was the cocoa was so salty, and on top of that I was dumping nutrients into this. But this was way back in the day. I wasn't pHing, so yeah, that's probably the worst.
Yeah. Well, the no pH thing is always an interesting one too to talk about, because I find that, I mean, I'm of the school of I don't need to, I understand my inputs and the organic system, but do you still find that people really question the need to pH when you're growing in an organic system?
Yeah. So I kind of discovered this whole organic thing accidentally. I wasn't taught by anybody. Nobody was doing it on the internet. There's books that I've read that I probably should have read better, but there's a bunch of different books that I read and different things that I experimented. So the way that I learned living organics is through mostly trial and error. And the whole pH thing, I think when I first started reading about this whole no need for pH thing, it's kind of difficult, especially if you're coming over from using nutrients.
Yeah.
It's a difficult idea to grasp because we know that nutrients, minerals need to be within a certain specific pH range in order for them to be soluble. That's fact. I mean, it's fact in organics and it's fact in nutrient grows. But the hard part to understand was what was actually happening within the soil and the environment that was causing the pH within that soil to be within range and balancing itself, right?
Yep.
That's the hard part to trust. And it's difficult for people to understand that because it just is. It just is. Everybody tells you need a pH to, what is it, 6.5 in oil? I'm sorry, in soil.
Yeah, 6.2 to 6.8, something like that. Yeah.
Within soil. I mean, for a long time, I was doing 6.8. And this is when I knew about organics, and I knew that you didn't have the pH. The reason I was doing 6.8 is because I felt like it was close to neutral, and I wasn't really adding too much of, and I was using baking soda too. I was using baking soda for pH up, and I was using vinegar or lime juice for pH down.
Yeah.
But it was neutral, and I felt like neutral would be within the range where, nitrogen fixating bacteria would most likely be the most comfortable. I don't know. It was just ideas, But eventually, you start trusting the soil, you start trusting the microbes, and and you just go with it. You know, as long as your soil environment's in good condition, it's going to work.
Yeah, I mean, trust the soil. I love that. I love that because it does take a little bit of I guess release as a grower to stop, put that pH pen down, put that bottle of pH up or pH down away, and just say that, okay, I'm gonna let the microbes do their thing with the calcium that I've put in there or the sulfur that I put in there, depending if you need to go up or down. But overall, it's just letting go that can be difficult.
It's a hard transition for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So what do you think most new growers or experienced growers even tend to underestimate?
I think a lot of people think that microbiology is fragile.
Yeah.
I believe it's not.
I agree.
You know, I think it's resilient and abundant. And yeah, I think a lot of people in the organic side of things, they underestimate the microbiology.
Well, that's a really good point, and I can parallel off that simply with talking about the way that I did my outdoor garden this year, where I'm a busy guy, right? I know you can appreciate that doing the YouTube thing yourself, but my front yard, I just didn't have time to take and dechlorinate and do all that stuff with the water, so I just hooked up the hose and I let things go, and I'm just growing vegetables out there, right? But I mean, no issues whatsoever. My corn was awesome. My potatoes were awesome. And I mean, it's like you say, the microbiology is resilient. Would have I had better results if I went straight rainwater and done all that stuff? Possibly. But trust that nature will take care of itself.
Yeah, they're going to duplicate and they're going to do their thing, you know.
Yeah.
And
sure.
I use RO water. I use reverse osmosis water when I'm working indoor. But the way I like to see it is like, look, yeah, you can survive, right? Like you as a human can survive in a North Pole, right? It's cold as hell, right? And you'll be able to survive. But would you rather be like in Hawaii? You know what I'm saying? Like the environment matters.
Yes,
So
it
if
does.
the environment's good, then you'll be more comfortable, and the microbes will reproduce.
Absolutely.
And be in a better place. So.
It's just, there's growing and there's growing well, and having things thrive. I mean, having that healthy environment really makes a big difference. So going off of that, then could you tell us about the time when, I mean, just everything came together, the genetics on point, the environment on point, light kicked ass, and you had what you'd consider your best grow?
I don't know about best grow. I'm searching for the best grow. You know, I'm chasing the best grow.
Yeah, story of my life, man.
Yeah, but I think the Blue Dream video, it's still up too. I had to re-upload it. I think I uploaded it originally in 2014, and then I had to re-upload it in 2016. But the Blue Dream video was when I started to sort of trust the organic process. Like at that point, I didn't fully understand it, but I knew about it. And I think the Blue Dream video is probably one of my favorites because of that. Just because it opened everything else up, and also I had a pretty cool light, which was the Dual Lux 600, which at that time was the motherfucking light. You know what I'm saying? Like it was the shit.
Yeah.
There was nothing like that. I mean, before that, you had these little LED lights. I don't even know what they're called. I'm not good technology or whatever, but this had like the huge cobs, and it was just a super bright light. And I had my environment on point too, so I'd have to say the Blue Dream.
Right on, right on. Well, guys, go back and check that video. If I can, I'll put a link into the description there too. Bugs, the bane of any grower. Hey,
Yeah.
Everybody, once they kind of get some experience, develops an IPM system that works for them. But to that point, Callie, have you ever lost the battle?
No, not indoor.
No. Yeah.
Not indoor. Outdoor is new to me, so yeah, I've had some issues outdoors.
Dog issues.
Yeah, I still got that issue.
Yeah.
Her name's Rosie. She's crazy.
Yeah, I saw a couple of your posts there where she went a little crazy wild in the backyard garden, unfortunately.
Yeah, she's still doing it. It's
Yeah.
all right though. Yeah, so indoor, I've never really had a pest problem. I think the only thing that I've had issues with is fungus gnats.
Yeah.
That's about it. Um, that's the great thing about indoor, right? I mean, that's the reason you're coming indoors, to get away
True.
from those pests and the unpredictable environment from outdoors. But my grow tent is inside of a room. I keep the door closed. Nobody really comes in here but me.
Yeah.
The tent is closed, and I run my lights at nights, so there's not really a lot of pest activity at night. I don't believe. I don't know. I could be wrong. And I try not to track any insects into the room. So I've never really had an issue with that. I don't have any kind of, what would you call it, IPM?
Yeah.
What'd you call it?
Oh, integrated pest management system.
There you go. I don't have an IPM protocol. I guess.
Yeah. Just all about prevention. Keep it clean, eh?
Yeah. I mean, just keep it clean, keep it closed. Yeah, pretty much. That's it. I'm not tracking anything in. Everything's sealed, and I'm good.
Right.
Never been an issue.
Step outside of the grow room for a few minutes and talk about a couple other subjects I'd like to get your thoughts on. And the first would be the stigma around cannabis. What do you feel that we can do as a community to help reduce that and, bring more people into the fold, as it were?
I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm the dude that gets involved with the community too much. Like, I know I upload videos a lot. You're the only guy that's really reached out to me, honestly. You're on YouTube and you got your following or whatever. I don't know where the community is. I know that I have a little bit of a following.
A little modest there, sir. How many 350,000?
Something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think there's a lot of stigma, huh? Is there still a stigma?
Absolutely. I think part of it is the reason why we don't see legalization down in the States, because there's so many people that are still hooked up on the idea of reefer madness, and that cannabis is going to make you go crazy and do all these weird things, when realistically we just want to, enjoy our medicine and maybe eat a bag of chips on the couch.
Yeah. I feel like it's changed a whole lot. Like, if you want to talk about stigma, I mean, we can go back in the day. It was super bad. I mean, you get arrested for having a pipe with some residue. You wouldn't talk about smoking herb. You didn't tell anybody that you smoked herb.
Yeah.
But I feel like nowadays everyone and their mom smokes weed, man. Like,
things have changed, man. Like, things have changed.
Like, I feel like there's not that much of a stigma anymore, either in the Western, well, in California, anyways. I know Colorado's crazy too.
Yeah.
I've been to Colorado, and it's pretty much the same or above. Canada's got a crazy cannabis culture.
Yes, we do. Absolutely.
Oh, are you Canadian, dude?
You betcha, man. Up here in the Great White North.
Oh, hell yeah! All right, cool. Yeah, you guys have a great cannabis culture up there, man.
It's growing for sure. And I mean, the whole federal thing legalizing up here really changed things. I mean, this is going to post a week after, but we just hit 3 years of being a federally legal country. And
yeah.
Dude, I just talked to my dad about it for the first time a couple of weeks ago, thinking that this was going to be a weird conversation. He embraced it. He was right down. I got him some canna oil for him to try for helping sleep and whatnot. And it's really nice to see how people who you think might have been staunch in their opposition to it are opening their eyes, because, I mean, it is just a plant.
Yeah. And then there's been a lot more people talking about it too. There's been a lot of people with the movement that have been making a lot of noise and talking about it. So I think that's helped out a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
It's helped out a great.
Yeah, talk to people, talk about it and stuff, and do what we can to continue to educate the community. Which brings me to my next question: creating cannabis content. it's a struggle. I mean, YouTube doesn't really like what we're doing, and it can be difficult sometimes. And to that
Yeah.
point, what do you feel your biggest struggle as a Canna creator has been?
You know, I've been thinking about this because when I first started on YouTube, I didn't really care
Yeah.
about followers or monetization or anything like that. I was just doing it just because it was something I did. And then eventually, over the years, I gained skill and knowledge, and people started watching my videos because maybe they were just getting started,
Hmm.
and I was helping them out. And I didn't have a following then either, and that felt good. And once your channel grows and you start to get success, and you see that all these other channels that are not cannabis related have less subscribers than you, and they're actually very successful, um, it kind of hurts a little bit, right? I mean, because you've put a lot of work into it. But I think I had to take a step back and think about it, and in all actuality, man, um, I don't give a fuck what YouTube does, dude. I'm gonna upload my shit, and you can watch it or don't, whatever. You know, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm not gonna worry about it.
Right
So,
on, right on. That's like the best attitude to have. Like, fuck it, just do it and let the people decide.
yeah.
If someone was to say they are just starting off as a creator, though, was there a single piece of advice that you would give them?
It's a simple formula. It's so easy. All you have to do is upload. That's it. That's all you have to do. All you have to do is show up.
Yeah.
Um, Show up week after week, or whatever your schedule is. You'll be surprised how many people show up and then just don't show up.
Hmm.
Just keep creating, have a passion for it, and it'll come. It'll grow. If what you're doing is real, right, and it's helpful, and you have a passion for it, then you're going to do it. And it's not going to matter to you how long it's going to take you to get where you're getting, if that's where you want to get. So just do it.
Yeah,
Like
man.
Nike.
Be human, be helpful.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, let's bring her back in the grow room now. Let's talk a little bit about
Yeah.
equipment. And I'd like to know what your favorite piece of gear in the grow room is.
Well, I mean, you can't grow without a light, so your
Yeah.
light's got to be on point. It's got to be a good light. So I mean, you gotta have something that's going to do something for you. Best. Oh yeah, controller.
Ooh, good one.
Controller. Yeah. Um, Before I had my controller, I have to run my AC. I'm in Southern California. It's freaking hot out here. It's dry and hot. So during the summer, especially, I have to run the AC pretty much all day, all night in that tent. Especially because of those lights, right?
Of
But
course.
before I had the controller, I mean, I was switching shit on and off manually, and
Yeah, yeah,
that's
well, yeah.
that's a pain in the butt. So that just kind of takes care of it for me. The other actually piece of equipment that's badass, and these motherfuckers need to give me a kickback, is the fucking Pulse. The Pulse is a fucking badass monitor. I got a coupon code for that. Did I kick it? Did you see that, or did I point the camera somewhere else?
No, we got it.
All right.
Yeah, no, very
Yeah.
familiar with the Pulse. Have you tried out the Niwa yet, though? The Grow
Nah.
Hub? Digging it,
No, I
man.
never heard of it. Never heard of it. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's other companies that are doing this, this kind of technology here.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the only one I have, so that's the one I use.
Mm.
But it's great because you could be anywhere, right? And it'll send you a warning if there's something going on with your grow tent, and things like that. Since we're talking about gear, a while back, you ever heard of the Grower's Choice ROI?
Yep.
So, okay.
Yeah, the lights.
All right. So yeah. So a while back, before those lights came out, they sent me two prototypes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, they sent me two prototypes. I mean, they look nothing like what they look like now. They were bigger, they were thicker.
Right, right.
They had no color to them. It was just like aluminum. But they also sent me this controller to go along with it. And, I tested it out for them. And the controller had sunrise setting, sundown setting, where it kind of mimicked like, the sun coming up, it would dim the lights up and
Yeah,
dim,
yeah.
dim them down or whatever. And it also had this feature where if your room got too hot, it would dim your lights for you.
No kidding, eh?
Yeah. So I don't know if they decided to go ahead and go with that light controller. They might have. I'm not sure. I'd have to check, but that thing was badass, and hopefully they did go forward with that.
Yeah. Well, I'm even seeing the tech now come out where you can change up your spectrum during the grow cycle. Like, come on, man. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Now, have you ever had a piece of equipment let you down, though, and perhaps take things a little bit sideways?
I don't know if it's. I mean, yeah, I guess a few times. I mean, there's these little dehumidifiers you get off of Amazon. They're supposed to be like closet dehumidifiers. This was a long time ago.
I think I know the ones you're talking about.
Those suck.
They're not very good.
Whack. These Vivo Sun, although for some reason they started working again, but these Vivo Sun fans, they're USB connected, so they're wireless, which is kind of a cool feature. But two of them stopped working while I was growing, and they wouldn't hold charge. So I'm kind of disappointed with that. And these are my current sponsors, by the way. So, like, yeah, I'm kind of a little disappointed with that. But other than that, I can't think of anything that's really just let me down so bad that I'm just, yeah, no, I can't think of anything that's too bad. Name some things.
Well,
Name some things.
well, you never know, right? I mean, it's always personally for me. I've been lucky in that regard too. I think the worst that I had was an issue with those plug-in the wireless sockets that you can get. You can control off your phone. I had one of those using it as a timer in my veg tent, and for some reason the thing lost its mind, and I don't know if it's because it couldn't connect to the wireless, but it stopped paying attention to its schedule. And I'm in there and I'm spraying just before the lights were supposed to go out and stuff, doing a foliar, and my plant tips are starting to burn and whatnot. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Finally, I figured it out that the plug itself wasn't turning off. Oh, we lost you there for a second. With the once I reset the power on it, it was fine. But it makes me really kind of question some of those fancier devices and whatnot. I mean, there's something to be said for a mechanical timer that has the tabs on it, but at the same time, there's something to be said for a mechanical timer that has the tabs on it. So
yeah, I guess it's all about testing it and trying to share with your viewers and stuff. That's a good thing to share, because you don't want people to buy something that's trash, right? I mean, it just kind of sucks, especially if you're starting off and you're investing this money into getting your grow going. You don't want to buy something that doesn't work.
Yeah. So I guess in that regard, is there a company or a product that you feel that the community doesn't really know enough about and people should be using more?
There's a small company that supported me since I've had 10,000 subscribers. The name of the company is Blue Planet Nutrients.
Okay.
They had mycorrhiza way back in the day. I think there was only like 2 companies back in the day that had mycorrhiza, and they were one of them that I knew about anyways. I was like targeted towards cannabis. So Blue Planet Nutrients, you guys need to check that out. They make hydroponic nutrients, seaweed extract, and all sorts of stuff like that. So yeah, that's a little known company, I think, and it's privately owned, and they're doing things.
Right on. So I guess then in that regard, what could we be doing more of to help the new growers out? Is there advice you'd have for people just getting started?
Plan ahead.
Yeah.
Pick a style and stick to it. Read up on it and do it. That's pretty much it. Like I think the first time that you grow, it's a little scary. You worry about everything. Yeah, your plant might be leaning a certain way, and you'd be like, "Oh, what's going on? Why is it leaning to the left today?" But you got to think about your first grow. If you're a first time grower, you got to think about your first grow as just being the learning experience. If it doesn't go the way that you want it to go, I mean, don't give up. Try to finish that grow, even if it's fucked up. But just think about it as a learning experience, and I think you'll be okay. Every time will be a learning experience till you get to the point where it's just what's next.
Yeah, wonderful advice. Learn, grow, repeat, man. I mean, that's all we can do. Accept the fact that sometimes you're going to have a failure. Sometimes you may have a past. Sometimes things may not go as planned. But, and I don't know if this is true, but I heard this as a quote from the great late Frenchy Cannoli. You can still smoke mistakes. So really just, but, I guess that really kind of gets us close to the end of our discussion today, Callie. And, just wonderful words of advice and great hearing about your knowledge and your experience over the years. Where can folks find you online aside from YouTube? You're on Instagram as well.
Yeah, Instagram is California Green 420. I'm pretty much there. And then Patreon, I got a Patreon. It's California Green 420. And that's it. I got three spaces where you can check out my content.
Right on. Well, I'll throw some links down below so people can find you easier for sure. But I'm going to ask you one more question, sir, and this is one I like to ask everybody. What do you feel the next big thing is going to be in cannabis?
The next big thing is living organics, man.
Yeah, man.
If it's not already, I think everybody will switch over.
It's what has the potential to save the planet. Who doesn't want that, right? I mean, that's where I keep all my stuff. All right, brother. Well, hey, it has been stellar chatting with you today. Like I said, you've done so much for the community. You've done so much for me, man. I mean, I've learned so much off your videos and whatnot over the last couple of years in particular. And I just absolutely appreciate you taking the time today, sit down, chat with me a little bit, and share some of that knowledge with my community.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, guys, there you go, CaliGreen. If you're not familiar with his channel, you're probably living under a rock. That being said, if you're not, go check him out. And Cali, appreciate you, brother.
Peace.
Yeah.